All right, so somebody compared Walker White to Josh Allen. Is that legitimate?
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yahtzee.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first or second or third listen every single day, depending on how many shows we put up every day. It's Recruiting Thursday. It means we're joined by Locked On Recruiting Insider, Brian Smith, and want to thank LinkedIn for sponsoring Locked On's recruiting coverage. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Brian, the folks at QB Country, who they nail quarterbacks, like they talk about quarterbacks a ton, they know their stuff. They put out a tweet earlier this week. Said Little Rock Christian 2024 quarterback Walker White is off to a great start to his senior year. The Auburn commit has a Josh Allen skill set, and we aren't exaggerating. Your initial thoughts, go.
No.
All right.
He's just a really good player, but Josh Allen is an elite NFL player. It's not fair to any high school kid. He's got a gun. He's a big kid.
Yeah.
But Josh is like, what, 6'6", 260?
It's an alien.
I mean, I can argue with anybody about football, but that one was easy. No way. I think he's going to be a great player at Auburn, but I'm not going to make him like talked about as a top 5, top 10 pick right now. Let's let him finish high school. How about we do that, Zach? How about we let the young man finish high school? Then once he starts hanging out with this guy named Hugh Freeze in Auburn, Alabama, we'll start to make our own decisions on that.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact that a group of folks that cover quarterbacks closely can look at this kid and say, yeah, man, the skill set is there. I'm not saying that he should be compared to any NFL quarterback, but the fact that they are leaning towards that is a good thing, right? And we talked about this before we clicked record. Like, he's got the arm, he's got the size, but I mean, what Josh Allen's doing is crazy. And, you know, people haven't really done that before, but the fact that somebody can look at Walker White's tape and compare him to Josh Allen, I mean, that is a good sign.
Oh, he does have similarities in his style. Like, he'll roll, not be on platform and still throw a rope. Like the arm strength and stuff. And some of his mannerisms are even similar. It's just when I think Josh Allen, I just think Hulk. Like, he doesn't fit the profile of a typical quarterback. He's just so massive that I don't really think there's anybody else like him. Now, I do think that your guy might be even more mobile in terms of being shifty, and the Auburn fans are going to like that. I don't think Walker's been talked about enough as a guy with the ball in his hands and just trying to make guys miss and get yards. He's pretty damn athletic. So he's a good football player.
Why has he not been talked about enough? Is it because he's already committed? Is it because he's in Arkansas? Why is that?
You named the top two, the second one in particular.
Got it.
Let's be honest. If he played in suburban Atlanta or he lived down here by me near Orlando, he just lives somewhere where there's no scouts. I mean, nobody's going to go see his high school games. They're just not.
What if he would have committed to Clemson instead? Is there more buzz then?
I mean, they did have this blonde-haired guy there that they would have been comparing him to immediately and unfairly. I mean, that's one of the greatest freshman players in the history of college athletics, period.
Sure. You're talking about Trevor Lawrence,
of course.
Yeah.
No, he's not. But they would, it would have happened. Somebody would have done it just to try to get clicks. You know, how about we let Walker be Walker? That would be my first inclination, because I love his film. I love it. He can throw it. He can run it. He's very sensible with what he does with the football. He has a chance to play early down on the plains. Yeah, let's let Walker be Walker.
Yeah, and he's going to arrive on campus with a bunch of really young, talented wide receivers, a wide receiver class that Auburn's never really had in a minute, especially with a guy like Perry Thompson. And it seems like they're working out together a lot. Bryce Kane. I mean, those guys help, right? And I think that's going to help Walker White have a very successful time when he's at Auburn, assuming the class stays the way it is and it's trending the way that it is.
If you have a talented quarterback, it doesn't take long for the receivers, tight ends, and running backs to notice. This has been the story forever. And you got to give credit to all the Auburn staff members for getting him on board and then just piling on. It's straightforward, brother.
He's all in, and he's very good. But you're saying no to Josh Allen.
I'm firm on that.
What about he worked out with Daniel Jones? What about Daniel Jones?
I think he's got a higher upside
than Daniel Jones.
I do.
Draft pick.
I do. Yeah. The reason I say that is the athleticism. Again, because he plays in Arkansas, he doesn't get the same quote unquote recognition that he should day to day. Daniel's a great athlete. Don't get me wrong. But I just think Walker, if you're going to play and you freeze his offense, you have to be able to run.
Yeah.
This is a kid that can really scoot.
I forgot which publication it was. I think it was on 3. But after the 2023 NFL draft, they compared like members of the 2024 class to some top draft picks.
Sure.
And they compared Walker White to Will Levis. So we're seeing a trend of these bigger quarterbacks that he keeps getting compared to.
Will Levis is a pretty good one to get compared to, but if I was to guess, I would say like Will's got a gun. Walker, I think that's a pretty good comparison. I mean, it's at least a little more. Like Josh is just
MVP type quarterback, right?
Let's pump the brakes.
Yeah, it's like when people say so and so's the next Tom Brady. It's like I don't think you know what you're saying when you say that. All right, hey KJ Bolden, 5-star target, and he's currently committed to FSU, setting some visits up, and I think it's a little interesting. Of course, Auburn's on there. Ryan, what your thoughts on that in just a second, right here on Locked On Auburn. These days, every new potential hire could feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain they have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. You can set up screening questions. You can set up all sorts of things, filters to help you find the people you're looking for, that ideal candidate. Hey, and maybe you'll find a candidate that you say, hey, I'm going to compare this candidate's upside to the upside of Josh Allen. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Brian Smith, Locked On Recruiting Insider, hanging out with us today. KJ Bolden commits to FSU, a team that you know a ton about, as you are also the host of Locked On Seminoles. But he picked FSU over Georgia and Auburn. There was a fourth team in the conversation. Was it Ohio State that was there? But nobody ever really thought that was a thing. So he's visiting Georgia this weekend, I believe. And then he's going to visit Auburn when Georgia comes to town in a few weeks. Brian, what do you think this means for the 5-star defensive back?
Free trips. More than anything else. I mean, that's first, maybe a chance at the Auburn game to meet Zach Blackerby or something like that, some other famous person.
Yeah, right. Right.
No, seriously, like KJ's a very personable young man.
Yeah.
Know him pretty well, great kid, but he's a guy that has a hard time saying no, and he's so good, everybody's going to call him every day. This will probably be something like if you're Freeze or if you're, any other coach in the mix, you're just going to keep after him. You have nothing to lose. You're spending the university's money to go recruit the kid. So why do you care? That's how it works. He changes your defense too. Auburn hasn't had a guy like him in a minute. I mean, he could play corner, receiver, doesn't make any difference, but free safety is just kind of his preference, and he's tremendous at it. So I don't think it's a huge deal yet, but if he comes on campus, let's see what he says. And he's a talker. He'll say something about it. Maybe Auburn can flip him. You never know. This is a guy that they need. If they want to start beating Georgia and Alabama, this is the kind of kid they got to get. There's no way around it.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about this when he picked FSU. Auburn's not going to stop, which is something a little different. I think the previous stats were like, oh, dang. Oh, shucks. We lost them. Let's go find somebody else who's not committed elsewhere. This staff doesn't care, which is
that's
great.
Exactly what you're
and that's why Auburn's finding more success recruiting now than they have been over the last 10 years.
If you do not continue to recruit kids after they're committed the same way, if not harder, you will not be employed long.
Yep.
Beginning and end, brother. And especially in the Southeastern Conference, as you and I know, there's no love lost amongst coaches. They do not care. So KJ's going to be there. Yeah, I mean, especially amongst like Florida State, Auburn have recruited against each other for a million years anyway, and Georgia's right in that mix. these are very territorial kind of deals, especially because KJ's from Buford. That's one of the most prominent high school programs in the country. That adds a little something to it as well. I'm curious to see where he eventually signs. For now, I consider Florida State the leader.
I mean, he's committed there. So, I mean, it seems like they should be the favorite. No question. So I don't know how much you stayed up to watch whatever it was Auburn did on offense against Cal over the past week. Based on your response, it sounds like you watched some of it. It wasn't pretty offensively.
Yeah.
I've seen some people say, oh my gosh, we're going to lose our recruits because of how this game went. Is that a real thing? Or is the pitch still, no, we need you to help us fix this? That was the pitch before, right?
You answered your own. I mean, like, did the people really think you was going to walk in the door and they were dropping 41 a game?
I think some people did, but like I thought they'd post 25 a game, right? Not 14 against a Cal defense. It's not. I still think it's not that good. Some people disagree with me. I just don't think Cal is a good football team. And Auburn shot itself in the foot a ton, right? 4 turnovers doesn't help you. Bad decisions consistently don't help you. But I just, do you think it impacts recruiting if Auburn were to continue playing like that? I think they're going to fix it, Brian. I think it's going to be much better when they go to College Station in 2 weeks. But what are your thoughts on that?
If they haven't fixed it by the time they get to College Station, that's a different story. But I mean, first year coaches, even if it was a brand new head coach, they're going to have some problems that get fixed in a few weeks. It's just reps, man. And Hugh Freeze is one of the top 5 offensive coaches in college football. Are you really that serious? You know, if those people out there freaking out, come on. And I don't think that's going to impact recruiting very much. Do you think Hugh Freeze hasn't kind of mentioned to some kids, just so you know, because he knows what's going to happen. He may not admit it in the local press conference that he's going to do, but he knows that when things aren't going to go great. I doubt he thought 14, but I doubt he thought 40 either.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't turn it over 4 times, it's only twice. You score 27 or something, it's no big deal. But you can never accept 4 as your final turnover number. I mean, I'm guessing Monday's practice wasn't much fun. I'm just going to go out on a limb there.
I hope it wasn't, to be fair. I hope it wasn't.
Too.
Yeah, do whatever it takes to get better, for sure. Brian, how can people check out everything you've got going on, bud?
Well, you can find me at Locked On Seminoles, or you can find me at FBScout_Florida. I'm actually going to be doing a podcast very soon talking about Auburn versus Florida State in recruiting long-term. It's ironic that I was on your show today.
Oh, send me that link. We will certainly promote that. That'll do, I bet that does well. Yeah, be sure to check out Brian. Yeah, no, I mean, that's good. That's good. They're too close not to. So be sure to check out all of Brian's work. He's the best. Read all my written work at auburndaily.com, and we will see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.